Hey everyone, it's Thursday and it's time for a special edition of Shooting the Shiznit. So what do we have this week? Well, Shooting the Shiznit presents Who Wants to Be the Best Shizniter Ever? A wrestling podcast game show. What? That's right, a wrestling podcast game show. So let me tell you how it works. Every 2 weeks, 2 contestants will face off in a battle of wits, where the listeners, that's right, you guys listening right now, will determine the winner. The show is only 30 minutes, with each contestant taking turns picking a subject from 9 subjects on the board. There will be 5 rounds with alternating turns determined by a coin toss at the beginning of the show. Contestant 1 picks a subject, and then the host will read the question. The host, that's me. Each contestant then has 2 minutes to talk Shiznit until the buzzer goes off, and then the other contestant gets 2 minutes to talk on the same subject. Up at www.stspod.club, we actually have a sample of the board. I also have a video describing all of the rules and everything again, so if you're listening to this and go, what is he talking about? So you can look at it. You can do the sample of the board is the one we actually used on this show that we recorded, so you can see what the board is about. But you know, how does the contestant win? As you listen to this, what I want you to do is I want you to decide who's talking. You know, who's bullshitting the best? Who's talking the best shiznit? Who doesn't annoy you as much as the other person? Who do you like? This is a who do I like contest. This is a contest between 2 guys. Listeners will have 10 days. You're going to vote on www.stspod.club. There will be a poll there. There's also going to be a poll on Twitter. It's the same poll. All the results go. I'm going to post one on Facebook. Soon as you listen to this, hunt down the poll. Best place to go, like I said, www.stspod.club. And just who won? Did Matthew win? Or did Bryan win this week? So the listeners have 10 days to listen to the show and vote on the winner. The winner's going to return next episode as the best Shizniter champion. So guys, let's just get on with the show. Let me know what you thought. Thank you for listening to Austin Lane Show. It is almost 10K Club in less than 2 days. Thanks a lot, guys. Here we go. Wants to be the best Shizniter ever. That's right. This week in the debut episode, we have Bryan Thompson all the way from Newport, Arkansas. Oh, he used to work in Newport. And we also got Matthew SRA all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. They'll be battling each other here tonight or here today, whatever time you're listening to it. And who wants to be the best Shizniter ever? As you know, before we got on the line here, you had the introduction on what we're doing tonight. So, and we also did flip the coin. Matthew won, so he gets to start the game. Matthew, choose a category.
Okay, BT, I will go with Bullet Club.
Oh, he's going with the Bullet Club, folks. Okay, Matthew, I will do the question, then I'll say start. You'll have 2 minutes until you hear the buzzer. Bullet Club.
I'm ready, BT.
Name one wrestler, manager, tag team, or girl from the old WWF that would fit in this gimmick, and why?
Well, I mean, obviously the easiest answer for that is Razor Ramon, man. I mean, think about it. He had that too cool for school attitude. He was always a little bit dangerous, and think about it, in the old school, he was always cooler than the other guys around him. He was better than that fucking Indian guy, Tatanka. He was hipper than Diesel. I mean, he even though he had this silly gimmick of being called Razor, he was still edgy and cool and interesting. And I mean, and the Bullet Club basically ripped off the NWO to begin with, so it's easy enough to slot someone like Razor right in there. I think he would have been perfect in his prime in something like the Bullet Club. I mean, the Bullet Club basically wants to be what he was back then now. So, I mean, I can't think of anyone who would fit better than just Scott Hall himself, Razor Ramon. I mean, because, I mean, it's that attitude, it's the hipness that was really too hip for fucking early 90s WWF. I mean, it would fit perfectly now in 2017. So I can't think of anyone who would be better than that.
All right.
I mean, think about it, man.
All right, Matthew, you still got 49 seconds. Come on, talk some more
49
shit
seconds. Okay.
for us.
Okay, well, think about it, man. I mean, the Bullet Club. I mean, they say things like, you know, they say "suck it," and they're always trying to go for the edgy things because in Japan and in the Indies, man, it's always about what's the newest shocking thing. What's more shocking than Scott Hall's, you know, bar stories and the crazy things he used to get into about you know just being the life of the party at any after match thing you went to. I mean, getting in trouble with the law constantly. I mean, that stuff was edgy and hip now. I mean, it's hip now, and 20 years later, and he was doing it back in the mid '90s. So just think about how well he would fit in now. I mean, his moveset. I mean, the Razor's Edge is still a phenomenal fucking finisher. I mean, it's still, you know, it's still cutting edge, no pun intended.
All
today.
right, your time is up. All right, are you ready? Are you ready, BT Jr.? You're ready. Now go for it. The Bullet Club.
Oh, I've got to talk about the Bullet Club now.
Yes, sir. Name one wrestler, manager, tag team, or girl from the old WWE.
From the old World Wrestling Federation. Well, I mean, let's put Timmy Sitch in the Bullet Club. I mean, come on, who would be more entertaining than Sonny in the Bullet Club? I mean, you could come up with so many innuendos and things and sunny days and I rode the bullet train tonight. She would be one of the certainly entertaining aspects from a female perspective. Because I think we only have the Bullet Babe, Amber O'Neil, as some sort of affiliation with the Bullet Club now. So you need something a little bit more, you know, a little bit more provocative than that. So Sonny would certainly bring that. And I think the entire Bullet Club could use some sunny days, if you know what I mean. All these guys seem a little bit tense. So when you're tense like that, you need to be kind of loosened up. And I can't think of anybody any better than to loosen some people up and get your minds out of the gutter. I'm not talking about that kind, you bunch of weirdos out there listening. I'm talking about Sonny just kind of being a motivator, a manager, a scheduler, maybe give a massage or two or rub a shoulder, get the guys ready to go to compete, whether it's in New Japan, if it's in Ring of Honor, or any other local redneck, loser, independent across this country. I think Sonny could be the one. Or she would be the one for me. Now, that's, you know, I mean, I'm a little bit like that. We're talking about 1990s now, not, you know, present day, and we don't give away my Skype password, but we'll just leave it at the 95-96 Tammy. Not that I don't like the 2016-17 Tammy, but I still won't give you my Skype password. Even though, didn't you create it for me, BT?
All right, we're done with the first category, guys. We're going to the second category, and BT, you get to choose one of the 9 categories. You cannot choose Bullet Club. Bullet Club goes off the board.
Well, apparently so. I lost my smile.
Oh, I lost my smile. Here we go. You will have 2 minutes. What angle or match made you lose your smile and not want to watch wrestling? Go.
Let me tell you what's wrong with the wrestling business. I lost my smile watching, I don't know, I got to pick one match. That is a little bit difficult. One match that made me lose my smile. There's a series of things.
An angle. The question is, what angle or match made you lose your smile and not want to watch wrestling?
Well, anything that Brian Trammell ever used to book back in his booking days. No, I'm just kidding. I would have to say something to the effect of guess some of that Joey Ryan stuff, maybe one of those matches where the penis spot first came into play. Because those kind of things, I get the entertainment aspect, I understand that, but I'm probably very much more so on the Jim Cornette side of things, and I could be into a match. Let me pick a different one. I want to talk about some of that PWG stuff where they throw grenades and all that stuff and pause the match. More so that type of work, because to me, once you kill the credibility of the business, I can be watching a match and enjoying it, and something stupid like that happens, and I am totally, boom, I'm done. And so to me, I lose my smile when I see that, because it's like I think the business has become a parody of itself, of what it used to be. If everybody's making a joke out of it, and yeah, it's not 1985, and yeah, kayfabe is dead, but when it can affect the bottom line, if it causes thousands of people to sit at home instead of buy a ticket, I got a problem with that. That makes me lose my smile. I lost my smile in this conversation. I lost my smile by getting on this podcast, Shizniter show, or whatever this thing is called, this game show where I'm trying to figure out if I'm the Shizniter. I didn't take it up last year.
All right. We're done. All right. It's Matthew's turn. And
Good.
Matthew, what angle or match made you lose your smile and not want to watch wrestling? Go.
Okay, well, I'm going to break it down really simply. It's not just one particular match. It's a certain person's matches that always, every time he comes on the TV, makes me lose my smile and wonder why I watch this stuff. And that's one Mr. Randy Orton, Mr. Headlock Dive himself. Talk about a guy who has had everything handed to him in the business and still has not learned how to really control a crowd or how to have an interesting match that didn't involve 50 fucking rest holds. I mean, you think about it, man. How many times did he throw a fucking chin lock on during his bouts and just sit there basically counting how much money he's making because his last name happens to be fucking Orton? I mean, if we were truly lucky, his dad would have gave him hepatitis instead of the fucking Undertaker. But and these guys, this guy here, Randy Orton, he's been given everything. He's been given a great nickname, a decent gimmick. He's been given one of the best finishers of all time, the Ace Crusher, and the guy is fucking boring. And all he can do to pop a crowd or get fans or anyone else interested is to shit talk more talented workers like a Joey Ryan, who actually goes out there and does innovative things and interesting things with the business and tries to grow the art form past fucking rest holds that last 15 fucking minutes on a Tuesday night. I mean, these second generation wrestlers who basically come in based on their name. Orton, what did he really do in the business before he came in? He came in on his daddy's name, got injured 500 fucking times, went through 3 fucking gimmicks, and all he does basically is the same basic 5 moves of doom, puts me to sleep every goddamn time. And when I try to explain the beauty of wrestling to my friends, and they come over to watch wrestling with me, or I get someone to take a chance on it, they see something like Randy Orton, and they're like, "Man, what is this? It's just this guy." Just basically going through these same 5 moves over and over. You can basically predict what he's going to do before he does it. And his silly little sidewinder taunt, his ridiculous tattoos, his fucking white trash, echo fucking tattoos.
All right, we're done. We're going to go to the third subject of the night, and we're going back to Matthew. Now, Matthew, what do you pick on the board?
I would like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly about classic Memphis wrestling.
Oh, you chose for something that's near and dear to my heart, BT. The good, man. The angles in old Memphis were amazing. I mean, so many interesting things. You have Eddie Gilbert nearly killing Lawler with his car. I mean, think about all this stuff. The villains would come in every month to try to knock Lawler off. I mean, the heat that they would generate off those angles was amazing. And the work, the simplicity of the work is almost the exact opposite of what I was talking about before. No one could throw a better work punch than Lawler, and he did such a good job of just getting heat on himself and doing the comeback perfectly at the right time to just keep that entire Mid-South Coliseum in the palm of his hand. It was just beautiful to watch those guys work. And, I mean, the bad, there's so much bad about it, too, though. For everything that was good, there was so much bad. I mean, you had those terrible studio audiences that there were like 15 people, and you have these terrible jobber matches that you had to suffer through for maybe one good angle for every Saturday morning. But I mean, and so, but that it was when you were won over by when it was good, it was transcendent, man. You had these great guys like Eddie Gilbert just cutting great promos, Doug Gilbert, going off on basically shoots, and just really exciting, edgy stuff, that wasn't really done back then. And the Ugly, man, they had so many ridiculous gimmicks. I mean, Lawler and his obsession with superheroes and movie characters. I mean, they had a wrestling Freddy Krueger. I mean, that's wrestling Freddy Krueger that wasn't in Japan. They had the Christmas creature and all these ridiculous gimmicks that, couldn't really happen anywhere else but territorial wrestling at the time. But you know what? It was all still great. Even the good and the bad and the ugly of all that was still wonderful because it was so uniquely Memphis. You had these hate feuds between guys like Dundee and Lawler. You had the ridiculousness of things like the Christmas creature and fucking Darth Vader and Adam West showing up as Batman and confronting Jerry Lawler just in a Superman costume. And these ridiculous jobber matches with guys like Tony Falk. And it was just, all of it worked together to create this tapestry.
Matthew. So it's your turn there, Bryan Thompson. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Give the good, the bad, and the ugly about classic Memphis wrestling. All right, go.
The good about Memphis is it was always, even the crazy off-the-wall stuff was just to the line of believability. So even though you had Freddy Krueger, you could actually believe there's some cuckoo bird out there, psycho enough, to want to take out Jerry Lawler that he would put on a Freddy Krueger outfit and try to get the job done. The fights, you felt like there was really some tried and true fights going down. Tupelo concession stand brawl, the Kenton, Missouri concession stand brawl. I mean, you felt like guys were really truly wanting to beat the crap out of each other. Lance Russell, Dave Brown, maybe one of the greatest commentary teams, announcing teams of all time. You felt like you're part of their family. You felt like Memphis created kind of that underdog element too, kind of that Paulie Dangerously would later capitalize on with ECW, because they would even kind of cross those lines and say, hey, look, New York and these guys are spending big money to do this, that, and the other. We're the little guy. Come out and support us. We need you in Blytheville, Arkansas. We need you in Jonesboro. We need you in Memphis. We need you in all these towns, because it's us against them. And they created that sort of semi-work shoot environment, talking about the office and different things. And so even if you didn't think things were legitimate, you could kind of say, well, that sounds like Lawler taking a stab at his boss. That sounds like this guy's saying something about something he doesn't like behind the scenes. The bad, I think, as time went on, they failed to create the next level of stars. And when you're seeing the same guys on top in the late 90s, early 2000s that you saw in the late 70s, early 80s, that's not necessarily a good thing. There's roles for those guys. There's positions that those guys should have held, but I think they never stepped to the side.
The bad and the ugly with Bryan Thompson there. All right, Bryan, it's your turn. We're on the fourth category. Your turn to pick. Now, the three that's gone, we can't pick Bullet Club, we can't pick Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and we can't pick I Lost My Smile.
If I had 5 minutes.
If I had 5 minutes. If I had 5 minutes. If I had 5 minutes with one current wrestling personality, who would it be and why? Go.
I'm going to be PG on this one.
Don't have to be.
I know that, but...
You want to win. You want to be the favorite.
Yeah, if I want to Shiznit here. If I had 5 minutes, it would be with Vince McMahon. I mean, just because that's one of the few people I ever would say that's on a bucket list to meet. Pick their brain. Truly sit the man in a room and say, why did you do what you did when you did what you did? And understand what goes on and try to even remotely get a sense of where he is. And you could listen to all the shoot interviews and get all the opinions of everybody that you want. But until you've been around the man, you don't know the man. You just know what other people have said about the man. And so is this a guy that just likes to play with people's lives and be a puppet master? And because I'm a billionaire, I can make this guy do that, or I can make a Trish Stratus bark like a dog, or I can do this or that. Or, where does the man's passion? Does he hate pro wrestling like a lot of us think he does, or seem to think he does? I think if I had 5 minutes of time, I would want to spend it with Vince McMahon, and really, especially before he gets to the point where, his mind is gone, even though he's at 70, whatever, he's an anomaly. But I would want to spend that 5 minutes with him to just really pick his brain and then see where his mindset was at all the steps along the way, during the territory expansion, during when things were in the toilet in the early 90s, and then coming back in the Attitude Era, and then now to where they are now with basically reinventing and killing off their entire pay-per-view system to turn into a streaming-based product. I want to pick his mind and how he incorporates his family and what his thoughts were, and bringing them into the business, and even as on-air characters and what they meant to him.
All right, your 2 minutes is up, and it's Matthew's turn. Matthew, if you had 5 minutes with one current wrestling personality, who would it be and why? Go.
Well, if I was going to be X-rated, I would say Bailey, but I'm going to be PG like Bryan and say I'm going to choose Jeff Jarrett and be PG. Why Jeff Jarrett? Because I think he's almost the polar opposite of someone like Vince McMahon. He's a guy who obviously loves wrestling, loves the business. He basically bleeds the business, but has continually failed at being a leader in the business. I want to talk to him about his poor business decisions and his Global Force Wrestling, the early days of NWA TNA, all the things that he basically has done that has kind of led him to being back at TNA, and how he's done all these things that basically caused him to fail, as being basically Vince McMahon light. Like why did they let the Hardys go? Well, why did he allow Anthony to have that stupid owl logo for TNA Impact Wrestling now? What is his thought process? How does he think that this is going to cause them to be the number 2 company in the world? How did he think Global Force Wrestling was going to become this big thing? What was his thought process in basically running these shit indie shows stacked with guys like Chris Masters and, giving meaningless belts to guys like Cody Rhodes? What was his thought process? Because he obviously knows the business. He was born and bred in the business, but how could he constantly make so many bad decisions? I would love to sit down and pick that guy's brain to learn what not to do as a promoter and how to basically succeed where someone like him has failed, even though because he had all the tools to succeed, and yet he continuously screwed it up. Think about all the failed opportunities Jeff Jarrett has had to run a company, and how many times it's just gone belly up. And Impact is doing okay right now, but is anyone really watching it? I'm certainly not. Every time I turn it on there, I just see that ridiculous owl logo, and I think, well, what am I doing, man? I might as well go back to watching, New Japan. So, and it's a company that's full of talent, got good creative people behind the scenes, and it's all being led by a guy like Jeff Jarrett, but yet it's basically unwatchable, and that's been kind of the motif for Jarrett all along. Is basically run unwatchable
2 minutes
shows.
is up. Sorry about that, Matthew. We only have 2 minutes, but you get to choose the last subject for tonight.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with, to kind of echo my earlier comments, I'm going to go with the bad guy.
Hello?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay, so yeah, we can hear you. We just didn't get your choice there. What is your choice for your last pick there?
And to echo my earlier comments, I'm going to go with the bad guy.
Oh, the bad guy. All right, so the bad guy. Who is the best heel ever in wrestling and why? Go.
Well, in my opinion, that's easily the best wrestler in wrestling ever, and that is one Mr. Terry Funk. Think about it, you egg-sucking dog, Think about all the heat he got in Memphis and every territory he ever went to. He made you believe he was like this crazy, scary man who just, he could get heat with just about anybody. His wild, brawling style, even basically, when he wrestled, you believed he truly didn't care about himself or his opponent. His promos were always, so real. Like, you believed he really wanted to get in there and just wail on his opponent. Think about the empty arena match he had with Lawler. Think about his matches with Cactus Jack, in Japan. And think about, basically everywhere he went, where he worked as a heel. Think about his run in the NWA against Flair, where he did the pile driver to Flair on the table. You thought he legitimately wanted to kill Flair. You didn't even know it was a work, and that would still make you go, "Oh my God, what did he just do?" Terry Funk made you believe, and I think basically not only is he just the best heel of all time, he's just the best wrestler of all time, and that means he can be either. But yeah, no one could make you believe he hated his opponent more, and that he wanted to win more than Terry Funk. He always brought the hate. He always threw amazing punches that looked like they hurt. He cut promos that infuriated you and infuriated the crowd. And he never swore. He never used vulgarity. He was just simply saying, calling someone an egg-sucking dog or a coward, calling them yellow. But when it was time for the babyface to make the comeback, no one could act like a more cowardly guy than Funk. He could flip that tough guy persona into being just this weak, callow guy so quickly that the audience just loved to see him get beat. He was so good at that. He was so good at every aspect of the business when it came to working in the ring. I can't think of anyone who I would say was a better heel than Terry Funk. Think about it.
Matthew finished up that field subject there. He picked the bad guy. Who's the best heel ever in the business and why? And it's your turn. If anyone's on the fence here on voting who's the best Shizniter ever, Bryan Thompson, you got your last chance. Go.
My last chance, as far as the greatest heel of all time, and man, it's a very difficult decision. There's so many great heels, and my friend here just mentioned Terry Funk. That was a great heel, but I'm going to bring up the man that I mentioned earlier, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Mr. McMahon, and the greatest heel character of all time to ever be developed that came out of a reality situation. Bret the Hitman Hart, 1997 Montreal screw job. And that transcended Mr. McMahon into a character that would go on to create unbelievable business with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Without that foil, without that Mr. McMahon, Steve Austin doesn't rise. And he is so believable. What other character is as believable as Mr. McMahon? Because in a lot of ways that feels like that's the real person, that he's the real jerk. He is really that kind of domineering boss that you would hate. And everybody at some point in time that ever has to work for anybody else wants to strangle their boss. I don't care who you are. It happens. Even if you're your own boss, sometimes you want to strangle yourself. Well, Mr. McMahon became that persona. And he and Steve Austin, they did record business that will probably never on a inflation basis be topped just because of the way the world has changed. He also showed that he could transcend being just a promoter and could be an actual character, could be an in-ring contributor, and didn't mind getting his hands dirty. If that required getting his head busted open from a chair shot, if it required getting the ring in a steel cage with Steve Austin, he would do whatever it takes. He could infuriate. He could actually infuriate you by belittling you, by talking down to you. Didn't have to curse, didn't have to yell, didn't have to scream, just the manner in which he talked to you and degraded you. The thing with the Trish Stratus's, making her bark like a dog, walk around half naked. Although we appreciate that, it showed he could be a true heel.
Time is up, Brian. All right, folks, I want to thank everyone for joining us this week. I want to thank Matthew, and I want to thank Brian for being part of the show. Now it's time for you, the listener. Yes, it's time for you, the listener, to go to www.stspod.club. You will see a poll there. You'll vote for Matthew, or you'll vote for Bryan Thompson, or you can also go on Twitter. We'll be putting the poll up on Twitter. You have 10 days. That's right, 10 days until June the 25th at 12 o'clock. If you listen to it right now, go hunt down that poll. Go to www.stspod.club. Go ahead and vote on who you think was the best Shizniter ever.
This is your first fish.
I got one.
Father's Day, a day to say thanks to the most important guy in the world. This year, get him what he really wants at Cabela's Father's Day sale. Get 20% off Cabela's Reels and Fly Reels. 25% off Sig Sauer Elite Performance Ammunition. and earn $25 in Cabela's bucks when you spend $150 or more in-store. Come to Cabela's Father's Day sale, in-store and online at Cabela's.com.
Staples knows that when the leave-behinds for your sales call get left behind at your office, it's time. When you need to print 30 pages and you're 300 miles from the office, it's time. And when the intern packed the Harrington file, not the Farrington file.
Oh, my bad.
It's definitely time. And it's times like these when you can count on Staples. Access your files from email, the cloud, or USB, and then print, copy, fax, or scan them, and get back to business fast. Visit your nearby Staples.